I mean, I think what happened is I think that, they had the discussions. I think that Boston may have felt like something was in place. But I also think that, when Hinkie holds discussions with people, there's a lot of other people ahead of him involved talking about the ownership group and Jerry Colangelo. So because this guy, Boston, may have felt like they were close, with Hinkie, doesn't mean that they were close with Colangelo or the ownership group. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, yeah. So, but yeah, it makes sense. So you're suggesting that really Hinkie might have been interested in the deal, but could have been overruled.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened, but I'm just saying it just seems like, I think that they talked, and what a general manager does, and what most people say, you call people, you talk about what the options you have are, and you see what it is, and then you get back to people, and I think that's kind of sort of what happened. Like, they talked over some things, but Hinkie probably said, I have to get back to you, and I think that Danny Ainge, basically wanted to put it out there that, hey, we were close. But, he just wanted stuff out there in regards to the conversation. But again, it's one of those things is I think that maybe Hinkie could have, like, said, okay, this is where we stand. But again, he didn't stamp off on anything. That's the opinion I get. Now, when I talked to sources, they told me that there was not a deal in place. Now, some people said that they had discussions, but there was not a deal in place. Because in order for a deal to be in place, you have to speak to the ownership group, and you also have to talk to Colangelo. I'm added in that sense, and it's my word. Just, Hinkie or no other source told me that. But I know for a fact that Colangelo and the ownership group, whenever Hinkie does stuff, he goes through them.
Keith Pompey with us covers the Sixers for the Inquirer. Keith, does that, in your opinion, did that deal make sense for Philadelphia with where they are right now?
At this particular time, it doesn't because you don't know the health of Joel Embiid. I do feel like someone is going to get traded this summer just because, if you see what it looks like. I know everybody says they're young and they have to work it out, but it just seems like, in my opinion, the Twin Towers thing is kind of struggling. And then when you have a guy like Dario coming in next year and you have Joel Embiid coming in next year if he's healthy, what is it really going to look like? I mean, I think it's going to be overcrowded. It's already overcrowded, and it's just going to be cramped in there. So, I think that ultimately they have to get rid of someone.
Yeah, and a lot of people are wondering if they get rid of someone, is it Okafor or is it Noel? I guess they would be the top two candidates. Do you think the Sixers have played their hand at all on which guy they prefer?
Well, I mean, the thing is, if you look at it, okay, they were playing Noel and they were going small ball for a little bit. And the team was successful. They were winning games. Recently, they've gone back to the Twin Towers. They lost 8 out of 9 games going back to the Twin Towers. So, you know what I mean? So I kind of think that, right now, when you look at it, it's like when you talk to league executives, they all say that Noel, because he can do something different than Okafor and Embiid, that he should be a safe bet. Like the Sixers shouldn't trade him. They need to keep him. Now, with that being said, as good as Okafor is, there are people out there that's saying that Embiid is better. You know what I mean? So if Embiid is healthy, then I think that Okafor will be the one that's going to leave just because you're looking at Embiid and you say, yes, Okafor's getting all these points, but Embiid can do more for us.
Keith Pompey is with us. I get asked that question a lot, and I'm glad you said that because that's kind of been my answer, Keith, is Noel offers something elite. I think Okafor offers something. It's an interesting spot for Okafor. He does something really well, but that how valued is what he does in today's NBA?
I mean, if he's in the right situation, I think he'll be great. And I'm not saying this is the wrong situation right now, but it's just the way the team is set up. I mean, things could change, but they want to get up and down the floor. They want to run. They want to do a lot of other things. Where Okafor is more dominant in like a half-court set where, you can spread the floor. He's kind of like a throwback. And then he does a lot of different post moves. But, but also what they need is they need their center. They want someone who's a rim protector, someone who can run the floor, someone who can get lobs. They want more of an energy guy, whereas he's more of a finesse throwback type of guy. So, I say like someplace like a San Antonio or somewhere else where they typically still go through the bigs, I think that will be a better place for Okafor.
Keith, how much did that deal the other day do you fault the Sixers for, if at all, losing Sampson for basically nothing, no fault of their own, or do you put some fault to them?
I think when you make a trade like that, you have to weigh all the options. And the fact that the guy who couldn't pass his physical only played like 18 games this year, that's bad. I mean, because they're saying that this trade possibly wasn't going to go through. Now, the thing is, if the Sixers didn't have a player to lose, if they didn't lose Sampson, you can say, hey, there's no fault of anyone. They made a deal. They tried to make a deal. They upgraded. They tried to upgrade the future with a second-round pick to get one back in the Ish Smith trade. They lost it, so who cares? But the fact that the way you did it, the way, you waited hours to waive Jakar Sampson, you were hoping to claim him off waivers, and then this thing doesn't go through. And not only that, he signs with another team. It's kind of sort of like, it looks kind of, in my opinion, it's just not a good look, for the Sixers. Because, it just seems like, and everything you can say is all based on luck. Like, if they were lucky, they wouldn't have three centers. They would have Andrew Wiggins, right? They would have Andrew Wiggins. They would probably have Russell. And you have no one else. And if they were lucky, this trade would have went through. This guy would have been waived, and they would have kept a hold of Jakar Sampson. So it just seems like bad luck keeps getting in the way of the process.
But it's funny. I asked Sam if there's something you've been unlucky at, what has it been? And his answer was Joel's foot. And I was wondering if he was going to say, well, we haven't got the pick that we've won yet, but he did say it was Embiid's foot as the answer here for what they've been unlucky at. But I'll ask you, do you think that Sam is in trouble? I mean, he had said the other day that they are clear that they want him here for a long time. Do you think that Sam makes it to next year?
That's a tough question. I think that he could possibly make it for next year. I just think that there's going to be different people in the front office doing different things. Now, again, that doesn't mean that he won't retain the title as general manager. I just think that they'll have more basketball people in there helping making some of the decisions. Because, again, like, if you take some of the luck out of it, it's like, let's be honest, like, if they would have Wiggins and they would have Russell and Noel running the floor, then everyone would say, wow, we're right on, we're on the cusp of doing something great here. And then especially with having 4 first-round picks, this upcoming season, this upcoming draft, people will be excited. But the fact that they don't, then it's like, hey, dude, the plan is, what's wrong with the plan? You just tank it for nothing. People assume that. So I think that's part of the problem. You know what I mean? Like, if he was a little bit more lucky. And here's the one thing. In this thing about trades and drafts, I found out that general managers, will always tell you, we drafted and we drafted the guy that we wanted. They'll always tell you this. If a trade doesn't go through, an example of Okafor, they'll always say, we were never serious about that trade. Because it's 2 reasons. The guy they draft, he has to play for them. They have to see him every day. They don't want that guy to know that you are our 5th option, nor do they want the guy to know who didn't get traded for whatever reason to know, like, hey, dude, we tried to ship you out of here, but no one would take you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. I know you got to run. I got one quick one I want to get your opinion on. If Hanky was fired, dismissed, whatever word we like to use in 2016, would another team bring him in to do what he did here? Will we see Hanky ever get another job because of the job he did here?
As far as a general manager, the head guy.
Yep.
I
was so impressed with what you did in Philadelphia. We want you to do that for us.
It's hard to say because I think the whole thing in Philadelphia was just kind of messed up. You know what I mean? It wasn't just Hinkie. I think the ownership group had to stamp off on this. I mean, I think initially what Hinkie would have to do is he would have to go somewhere, maybe back to Houston, and assume the role of assistant general manager for a little bit. But if I would like to see what Hinkie could do if he had more basketball minds in the front office, and if he was in a different situation where he can just go after free agents without trying to go after them just to get their salaries and cut them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because it's kind of hard to say what he's doing because he was so in the teardown mode that it really wasn't making, current basketball decisions to make the team good now. I would like to see what he can do given that opportunity.
Keith Pompey from the Inquirer. The Sixers in action tonight against the Magic. You can hear it on 97.3. Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, man.
Good stuff from Keith. One thing about Hinkie, I wonder